Strategic thinking is of paramount importance for the security of the statehood. Its effective governance and development for only through the mastery of the art of strategy and strategic thinking. It's possible to work out and realize program of state development tailored to promotion of security and progress. Thus, strategy proves to be methodology of mentality whose aim is to analyze and decode events, classify priorities, and afterwards select the best way of realizing the vision, at the core of which is the individual, the citizen. Very often the nation's interest is security itself, the preservation of which has become particularly difficult because of today's hybrid threats. In the age of modern information technologies, security challenges have acquired new forms and content, presenting themselves as informational, psychological, economic, and other threats. For promotion of interaction of above-mentioned components of security, as well as interconnection of national and global systems, the role of political leadership acquires a key importance as the strategic way of thinking of the latter must pursue security-driven policy. The new authorities in Armenia, which came to power after the revolution, do not perceive the nature of security purely in military context. Contemporary security concept is observed in more expanded context, in which the role of the Security Council is crucial in Armenia. The peculiarity of this body, first and foremost, is characterized by its structure, as well as by performing collegial activity. Acting as a constitutional body, the Security Council of Armenia defines the main direction of the defense policy, adopts decisions deriving from them, therefore functioning as an elaborating and coordinating body of state security strategy. In these connections, we have undertaken a preparation of new national security strategy of Armenia, which is coordinated by Security Council Office. One of the components of this project is the definition of security strategy goals and objectives, because the strategic goals are the desired results we want to gain, and strategy is the synchronization of ways and means which should be applied. The axis of the process of working out national security strategy is the evaluation of security environment. In this connection, the geopolitical role of the Caucasus is truly unique. Due to its geographical position, the Caucasian region is a bridge between the Black and Caspian Sea, between North and South, between East and the West. The geopolicy of the Southern Caucasus is to be seen not only through the prism of global philosophical dimension, but in the context of the civilizations. That's the reason why the Caucasus is the center of interest of superpower and the main focus of their relations. Within the above-mentioned context, taking into consideration the multi-vector competition among the great power, the geopolicy of the regional powers, and the correlation of power of the countries of Southern Caucasus, and being literally the center of new big game, and at the same time being part of this game, capped by the ethnic, cultural, geographical, and other differences and disagreements among the big and small countries. The policy of Southern Caucasus countries is formulated around an important concept: national interest, which is security in its wider sense of application. And it's in this context that strategic thinking gains prominence in terms of helping us make effective decisions in complex and uncertain situations. Today's security includes political, military, economic, cultural, technological components that interact with one another. But the fact of their interconnection does not abolish the challenges to international security and peace. This is conditioned on the fact that any state security directly connected with the stability of the regional subsystem, which in its turn is connected with the international system. Consequently, process of globalization, along with the development of modernization of communication technologies, have formed the basis of new non-traditional threats to the security. International cooperation is considered by us to be of particular importance in the struggle against hybrid threats. Balanced policy is an important guarantee of peace for Armenia. Having strategic ties with Russia and being member of Eurasian Union, in 2017, Armenia signed a comprehensive and enhanced partnership agreement, thus becoming a link between East and West. Armenia's military political cooperation with the NATO is realized within the context too, as Armenia is a member of CSTO. This is the way Armenia conducts its foreign policy and tries to strategically approach to its security. Recent scientific progress in various spheres also has a real potential to influence security. The internet and digital technology have created a new dimension in the sphere of security and cyber wars. Cyber threats are the mirror of the modern world as they reflect the international complex and contemporary nature of the world. The problem of promoting security is growing more complex, more extended, and more distracting. One of the problems in the security of cyber environment is the fact that any individual from any place can act. This fact increases vulnerability, leading to serious consequences. Within this context, we consider it important to mention that the Security Council office started preparation of the cybersecurity strategy. Here again, we are sure that strategic thinking and strategy can help us to meet the challenges and to tackle the challenges that's coming from the cyber sphere. Thus, strategic way of thinking meant to promote security is not limited to the narrow military sphere. Under the circumstances, promotion of national security is rather a complex, multi-level and multi-layer problems that requires professional approaches at the national and international levels with the precise consideration of all the aspects of those multiple factors and multi-layered problems. And any strategy of defense planning can be carried out if it's based on the public willpower and enjoys with public support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the presentation. You also tackled theoretic things. You are just as in the strand we are discussing all the time, and you brought a very good combination of your theoretic and practical aspects. You mentioned cyber. We have afterwards a big cyber panel with very outstanding cyber specialists. So you just put the finger on that, what is shaping our future and our future thinking. And if you would allow, sir, I would ask the auditorium for questions. And
sure, welcome.
Welcome. Herr General, bitte.
So thank you very much for this very enlightening presentation. You have mentioned the cyber and information space, or the cyberspace, and normally the cyberspace should be regarded as a new operational domain, but it's a domain that really includes, let's say, foreign or external security aspects, but also internal security aspects. What is your view, let's say, on command and control structures, especially regarding to the, let's say, linkage between the military and the civilian area in the cyberspace?
Okay. Lately I was participating in some discussion where people were very usually saying that why we cannot define the cybersecurity attacks as a military attack, because it also brings damages, also economic damages, but it brings damages, and it's attack of the infrastructure of the country, why we cannot define it. To be honest, I think that we cannot define it as a military attack, because in that case, sanctions also can be perceived, any sanctions can be perceived as a way of military attack, but it's not like that. In this sense, I think this is a very sensitive sphere, and in that sense, it should be combined with military and civilian structure of the security for cyber sphere. It's new. Usually military have not been there present, let's say, even though internet comes from US military sector. But again, the sphere is a little bit sensitive. It has a lot of interconnection with freedom of the speech, with the critical infrastructure. So it should be combined, the military and civilian command and security provisions.
My name is Burkhard Meissner. You have shown us how the security structure in Armenia, the structure of the Security Council and that sort of thing, applies to modern sorts of conflicts. May I please ask you how this applies to, let's say, rather old-fashioned types of conflicts, of which there is one around Karabakh Mountains between Azerbaijan and Armenia, still in limbo in a way, but a long-standing conflict into which probably Turkey and Russia, one more leaning to the Azerbaijan, the other probably more to the Armenian side, if I'm not wrong, how all this applies to this conflict and what we do have to expect from this conflict in the near future.
Excuse me, you're asking about the Security Council or about the conflict?
The role of the Security Council in dealing with that conflict.
Okay. Actually, I would say the major security challenges for Armenia comes from Azerbaijan. Possible using of the military means to try to resolve the conflict. So what concerns the Nagorno-Karabakh is in the agenda of the Security Council. Actually, I would say to just in a few words open what we are doing, the Security Council became a major platform where the security issues are discussed. So the Security Council meetings last usually 8 or 9 hours. So this is a newly post-revolutionary platform where all the security, and the meeting takes once in 3 months. So with all these guys, we take all the ties and suits and sit and for 8-9 hours discuss all the issues. So it became a major platform, and I would say during 1 year, it has formed as an institution because Armenia also passed through a constitutional reform. In this regard, also, it's also important to discuss other aspects of the Security Council, because usually not only the conflict impacts Armenia, let's say, economic security environment. I would say you a very interesting example. The 2008 conflict between Georgia and Russia impacted more negatively to Armenian economy than the 2016 April war. When Armenia is in war, it impacts less to our economy than the conflict of our neighbor. So in this regard, we have a lot of things to discuss. It's not only the conflict that impacts the economy, but other factors too. And the Security Council is the major platform where we are making decisions. It's also very important that those decisions are made collectively. This is not 9 members of the Security Council, they are participating in the decision making with the leadership of the Prime Minister, which is very important, and we see how it effectively affects the security environment of Armenia. I would say Armenia is in very difficult situation. Let's say with Azerbaijan we are in war, with Turkey our border is closed, we have Georgia in north, we have strategic partnership with Russia, which is in conflict with Georgia. We have in south Iran, which has a conflict with United States. So it's a very complicated environment, and we have a lot of things to discuss. Thank you.
We know those conflicts as frozen conflicts. They are in the Republic of Moldova. Kosovo has been said to be a frozen conflict, and even though this has a negative impact on Armenia, and it is not something wishful, if we think of Libya, for example, or we think of Cyprus, freezing, would you apply the idea that it is for a moment in history a good idea in order to save lives or to establish security?
Yeah, it would be very difficult to freeze the conflict because it's in the agenda of the politics in Armenia and in Azerbaijan. And within the co-chairs of Minsk group, there is a negotiation, and negotiation is ongoing, and the parties try to find a way of resolving the conflict, but it's very difficult. To freeze it, it would be more dangerous, I think. The freezing process can challenge a lot of things. And taking into consideration the discourses, the environment in two societies, anybody would be for any leader, it would be very difficult to freeze it. It would be better to go in a way to find a resolution to the conflict.
Then, sir, if I may, do you have considerations and evaluation on a principal question of professional versus conscription, professional army conscription? Is there something that is in the background you are considering?
You mean mandatory serving in the army conscription? Yes. For Armenia, it's very difficult to pass to professional army because the border that we have to patrol is close to more than 450 kilometers for the army. It's very complicated for Armenia. The border with Azerbaijan is kept by the military defense ministry. In the north border is controlled by the National Security Service. The southern border is controlled with Russian Federal Service and Armenian National Security Service, and the Turkish border mainly patrolled with the Russian services. Security services. So in this context, in Armenia, it becomes very, very difficult to pass to the professional army. In our agenda, there is no such a question. We're thinking that the economic resources and the whole structure is not ready to passing, and we are going in a way that we have required mandatory military service, and we are keeping it. Thank you.
Is there any more questions from your side? Then, sir, I would very much say thank you for the presentation. It gave us a good insight view for the very open-minded way how you answered our questions. It was a pleasure and an honor to have you here. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Short coffee break. If you join us, maybe there's one or the other question to the